What's up, guys? This is Max Show MMA. I am back again with another video. Hey, listen, man. Sean Strickland. What a fucking bum of a thing, bro. I don't know if this dude is on a media tour or what, but, he's been doing a series of interviews, man. And I just want to speak on it, man, because I'm about to go the fuck off on this dude once again. He's done some interviews, lately, and he's been speaking on Israel Adesanya. Basically just talking about what he thinks of him as a fighter. Just basically down talking him and throwing salt on all of his accomplishments. So let's get right into it, man. I'm ready to talk about it. So this interview here, I'm about to show you, he was interviewing with ESPN, and he had some interesting choice of words about the style bender. So let's take a listen.
I don't want to discredit Izzy, and I like Izzy. He's a stand-up guy. I love Kelvin. I love Kelvin, and I think Kelvin's such a great guy. He's a warrior, but like, I've trained with Kelvin for years. And when I watch Kelvin go in there and have that kind of fight with Izzy, I'm just like, are you really that good, Izzy? You're tall, but are you really that good? So I wasn't surprised one bit.
Like, listen to this dude. What a clown, bro. What a clown. So all because you sparred with Kelvin and you was getting the best of Kelvin and sparring a couple times, you thought Izzy wasn't that good because they had a great all-time classic fight, something you ain't gave us yet. The closest to an all-time classic fight you didn't gave us was with you and DDP, and that wasn't even really a war. DDP made that a war because you was backing up the whole time like a bitch. Since when does sparring someone matters? It's been plenty times in the history of fighting, whether it's boxing, MMA, where a sparring partner used to get the best of a guy in practice or training, and then when the fight comes, it's a totally different thing. Did we not just see Sergey Pavlovich? He just went up against Alexander Volkov at heavyweight. Heavyweight fighters, both ranked, highly ranked. They say Sergey Pavlovich used to beat the shit out of Alexander Volkov. Even Volkov admitted it. But look what happened in the fight when they just fought a couple weeks ago. Volkov beat the shit out of Pavlovich. But Pavlovich always got the best of him in sparring over the years. Who cares? It's sparring. We don't give a shit what happened with Pavlovich and Volkov in sparring. We know what we seen when those guys actually fought. And Volkov pieced his ass up. So when does sparring hold so much weight? Shut the fuck up, clown. Now, let's get to the next interview that he did. Let's listen to what he got to say on this one before I really let loose on this dumbass. So in this interview, he kind of alludes to the same thing. Is he having a close fight with Gaslam? Is he not being that good? So let's take a listen and hear what he got to say.
Like, I think Kelvin's a fucking stud. Hell, Kelvin's beat two of my teammates. Mm-hmm. Kelvin's a fucking stud. But we're talking about the top-ish of the echelon. And so the fact that Kelvin did so well with him, I was like, nah, you're good, dude.
Thanks. So all the way back then, you kind of just thought he wasn't, because that was what, 2018 or?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great, but the problem is, dude, like, I mean, he doesn't really like have that fucking dog.
He doesn't really have that dog in him. Shut your bitch ass up. That wasn't even funny. I didn't even laugh. Like, look at this dude. Look at the corny shit he doing. Is you on a tour to slander Izzy name? Is you on a tour to make yourself feel better internally by bringing others down? Like, look at you, dude. Like, you look like a clown. Let's really talk about this dude's career. Like, dude, you've been in the UFC since 2014, since March of 2014. Izzy didn't debut until February of 2018. You've had a 4-year head start on Izzy, yet Izzy is much highly regarded in MMA and UFC in general than you will ever be. Yet you had a 4-year head start. When Izzy debuted, you want to know what you was doing, Sean Strickland, when Izzy debuted? 2 months later, after Izzy debut, you was getting KO'd by spinning wheel kick by a dude named Zaleski Dos Santos on the prelim of UFC 224. That's what you was doing. You was getting knocked the fuck out by Zaleski Dos Santos, who's still in the UFC, who's not even ranked. That's what you was doing when Izzy debuted. When Izzy debuted, that's what the fuck type of time you was on. Getting knocked the fuck out by unranked dudes. Hell, you weren't even ranked your damn self. That's what you was doing 4 years later after your UFC career. I'm surprised you didn't even get cut by the UFC. As terrible as you was. And guess what? That same prelim card, because you was a prelim opener when you got KO'd. You was the prelim opener on the UFC pay-per-view card for Amanda Nunes and Raquel Pennington. Ugh. One of the worst pay-per-view cards in the fucking history of the UFC. That card was awful. And guess what? That same guy you mentioned, oh yeah, he was the co-main. He was doing better things than you. And he actually won that co-main fight. That's what he was doing while you was on the prelim getting KO'd and shit. That's what you was doing 4 years after your UFC career. You want to know what Izzy was doing 4 years after his UFC career? He was defending his title for the 4th time and beat Robert Whittaker for the 2nd time by unanimous decision. That's what Izzy was doing. Not getting KO'd by spinning wheel kick by a fucking no name. Matter of fact, let's do another comparison. Since you want to talk about Izzy so much, since you got his dick down your fucking mouth so much, let's talk about what you was doing in your 7th UFC fight, Sean Strickland, versus what Izzy was doing in his 7th UFC fight. You want to know what Izzy was doing in his 7th UFC fight, motherfucker? He was winning the undisputed middleweight title by beating Robert Whittaker by knocking him the fuck out at UFC 243. That's what Israel Adesanya was doing in his 7th fight. You want to know what you was doing in your 7th fight? Getting ragged out and getting beat the fuck up by Kamaru Usman at UFC 210. On the prelim, by the way, because your bitch ass went on the main card. Getting beat the fuck up by Kamaru Usman. Had no answers. That's what you was doing in your 7th fight in the UFC, buddy. So how about instead of slandering Izzy's name, how about you get on your knees and bow down and thank him? That's what you need to be doing. Thanking him for reviving your career, making your career relevant, because it was not relevant up to that point. He blessed you and gave you that opportunity, and you would have never got that opportunity if it weren't for DDP breaking his foot. That's the only reason why you got that opportunity. You got the title shot off beating Abus Magomedov. You was ranked number 7. Beating a guy named Abus Magomedov who was unproven and he wasn't even ranked. Once again, you were on the fight night card as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. You got a title shot off being number 7th ranked, beating a guy who was unranked and unproven. That's how your title shot came about. So you did nothing up to that point of fighting Izzy to deserve a fucking title shot. So shut your fucking mouth. Talking about somebody don't got that dog in him. Come on, man. What dog you got? Dog, you kick and pity pat and jab your way to victories. What dog do you have? Izzy has shown way more dog than you. You caught Izzy on a bad night, in a bad spot in his life, and you just think you this. No, you're not. You're not that. And the times you did fight dogs, with some punching power who come forward, what you do? You backed your bitch ass up like a pussy. When you fought Cannonier, that's why you lost when you fought Cannonier. Backed up and backed up. You ain't want to engage. Where was that dog then? When you fought DDP, when he was coming forward, what you do? Backed your bitch ass up because you ain't want none of that smoke. Where was your dog at? You fought Pereira, and kudos to you. You tried to go for it, and look what happened. Got your ass flatlined. Got your bitch ass knocked the fuck out. Talking about the upper echelon. You never been on the upper echelon, Sean Strickland. You never been considered that until you was gifted and blessed with a title shot. And you unanimous decisions your way to a victory against Izzy. One that wasn't even dominant. You did not even dominate Izzy in no type of way. Yeah, you clearly won, but that wasn't in dominating fashion. If the Izzy that showed up against DDP showed up when he fought you, you would have got cooked, brother. You would have got cooked. And that Izzy that fought DDP, in my opinion, that was not the best Izzy. He looked really good, but that was not the best Izzy at all. And guys, you want to know what's even more funny? Let's talk about this. He fought Israel Adesanya at UFC 293, right? That was his first time in his UFC career headlining a UFC pay-per-view. That was his first time headlining a UFC pay-per-view. It took him 20 fights and over 10 fucking years and a title shot he didn't even fucking deserve. He was lucky. He was lucky. Everything went his way. There were no other fighters available, okay? Izzy blessed him with the title shot. He was a number 7th rank, coming off beating an unranked opponent and getting this fight. His first time ever. And he didn't even fucking deserve it. Took him over 10 fucking years and 20 fights to headline a UFC pay-per-view. That shit is pathetic. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Before Sean Strickland fought Israel Adesanya at UFC 293, he had 19 fights in the UFC. Out of those first 19 fights, 14 of those were on UFC fight nights. Nobody gave a fuck about Sean Strickland. Nobody was paying to see Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's whole claim to fame is off of Izzy's name. And I wasn't even trying to rhyme right there. That's just how it came out. Bro, you are a bum. And you want to know about those other events that weren't UFC fight nights in his first 19 fights? 4 of those was on prelims or early prelims. So the 4 times out of the 5 you weren't on UFC fight nights was on the prelim of UFC pay-per-view cards. So that again further proves my point. The one time out of your first 19 fights you were on a UFC pay-per-view main card, you was getting knocked the fuck out at UFC 276 by Alex Pereira, which just so happened to be on the UFC pay-per-view card of Israel Adesanya. He had defeated Jared Cannonier by a clear unanimous decision, domination at UFC 276 and defending his title for the 5th time. So when Izzy was defending his title for the 5th fucking time, study building his legacy, you was getting knocked the fuck out by Alex Pereira. That's what you was doing. Shut your fucking mouth. So I say all that to say this. You should be thanking him, pussy. You should be thanking Izzy. He made you relevant. And up to the point of getting the belt, bro, yes, you got the belt. Again, you caught Izzy at one of the worst times in his life, and you took advantage of that moment. Bro, you've only headlined 2 UFC pay-per-views. You've only headlined 2 UFC pay-per-views, bro. You've done nothing. When you retire from MMA, the world of MMA is not going to miss you. You're not going to go up there with some of the greats. You're just going to be looked at as one of those guys who lucked up, won a championship, and nobody gives a fuck about, and nobody cares about. People are going to remember you for crying like a little bitch on the podcast after talking all that shit at the press conference than actually winning the belt. Because I don't think you touching that belt again. Because you ain't that good. Because you're not really the upper echelon. You took advantage of a moment. Congrats to you. You got it done. And then you kind of just boosted yourself up like you're that guy and you're not. You got 2 UFC pay-per-views in your whole fucking UFC career. Over 10 fucking years in the UFC, bro. Over 10 years. Only headlined 2 UFC pay-per-views. And that's only because you lucked up and got a fucking championship out of it, bro. You was a bum for real. You was a bum before you fought Izzy. You need to be thanking him. Every night before you go to bed, when you lay that bald head down on whatever funky ass pillow that you lay that motherfucker on, you better be thanking Izzy every fucking night that he made you relevant, pussy. Like I said, man, we gonna start calling this bullshit out. We gonna start calling this bullshit out when we see it and when we hear it. So again, this is Max Show MMA. Listen, comment. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section as well. Like, subscribe. I'm out. Until next time, peace.